Hello everyone. Today we'll be learning about the average velocity and the average speed. Suppose athletes are running a race. Their performance cannot be qualitatively recorded using the words faster, slower, slowest, fastest or average. It has to be quantified because all of them do not run in same manner. Quantifying means assigning some numbers to their motion, and looking at these numbers, one can easily compare how fast or slow an athlete runs as compared to the others. Getting it? So, as usual, take out your notebook and pen, and wherever you require, you may pause the video for making your notes. In between the video, we'll be getting 2 checkpoints for the conceptual practice. You may try all those questions for better understanding of these topics. Answers of these conceptual questions or the checkpoints can be verified at the end of this video. So let's begin with our first topic, the average velocity. This is actually equal to the final position minus initial position divided by the final moment of time minus initial moment of time, or technically we can write this as displacement divided by the time interval, del r vector divided by del t. Okay, looking at this formula, we can write few important things. Number one, the average velocity is a vector quantity, and since displacement can be negative, 0 or positive, anything, it means the average velocity can be negative, 0 or positive. Okay, what if the final and the initial positions are same? The displacement will become 0, then average velocity will also be 0. So I am writing that here. If r initial is equal to r final, then the average velocity will be equal to null vector or 0 vector, because the displacement will become 0. Okay. For example, suppose there is a circle. A particle starts here and it completes a lap and reaches back here. How much is the displacement for this motion? Initial and final position are same, so the displacement will become 0. Displacement will become 0, then average velocity will also become 0. Getting the idea? Suppose the particle goes from here to here. For this part of the motion, the average velocity is 0 or non-zero? In this part of the motion, there is non-zero displacement. So the average velocity is non-zero. Okay. So it may happen for a given motion, for some interval of time, the average velocity is non-zero. And for some other interval of time, let's say you complete a lap, average velocity is 0. Getting the idea? I am writing that here. For given motion, it may happen that average velocity is non-zero for some time interval, and average velocity is 0 for some other time interval. Next important point, the displacement is a frame dependent quantity. So the average velocity is also frame dependent. Getting it? Another important point, if velocity is constant, then for any time interval, the average velocity is always equal to the instantaneous velocity. It's a simple thing. If some quantity is constant, then its average value over any interval of time, its maximum value, its minimum value, they all will be equal to that quantity only. Get it? Next important point, The SI unit of the average velocity is meter per second. The displacement is measured in meters and time is measured in second. Then the dimensional formula, can you tell? It's pretty simple actually. The dimensional formula will be equal to mass to power 0, length to power 1 and time to power -1. Getting it? Okay. Next important point, the magnitude of the average velocity is always less than equal to the average speed. While going through the average speed, we'll take few examples and it will be much clear to you then. You may pause the video here and note down the things, then we'll go to the next screen. Taking up the next important point, for unidirectional motion, the word unidirectional means the particle is moving in a single direction. It is never turning back. Okay. The magnitude of the average velocity is actually equal to the average speed. We'll be taking up numericals on that. You'll grasp it easily. Next important thing, the average velocity is always defined for some time interval. This is pretty important. For example, if someone says the average velocity of a train is 54 km/h along the north at 10 a.m. Is this statement correct? No, this statement is false because average velocity is always defined for some time interval. Getting it? Next important point, in unidirectional motion, we use plus or minus sign to indicate the directions. For example, suppose we start the motion here. So this is the origin or this is the starting position. Now, if a particle moves in this direction and you take this direction as positive, then the velocity of the particle will be treated as positive. The displacement of the particle is treated as positive. Getting it? Suppose you start here and then you are moving in this direction. Then your velocity is taken as negative. The displacement is also taken as negative. So in unidirectional motion, we might drop the vectors. We might drop these signs, okay, the vector signs, and we might use only the plus and minus. For example, suppose for this kind of motion, I tell that velocity is 2 meters per second. Particle is performing unidirectional motion and the velocity is positive 2 meters per second. Automatically you will get the idea that particle is moving in this direction. If I say the displacement of the particle is -3 meters with respect to the starting position, you will automatically get the idea that from this position particle is 3 meters along the left side. Getting it? Okay, writing the next important point. Sometimes in calculations we will be requiring the conversion of km/h to the meter per second. So I am writing that 1 km/h can be written equivalent to 5/18 meter per second. How we do that? See it here. 1 kilometer, kilometer means 1000 meter, and 1 hour means how many seconds? 3600 seconds. Do you agree? Now do this calculation and check what do you get. This 0 and this 0 is getting cancelled out and you can cancel it with 2. So you will be left with 5/18 meter per second. Okay, it's simple. Suppose we want to convert the 72 kilometer per hour into meter per second. What is your answer? At the place of kilometer per hour, you can put 5 by 18 meter per second. Do it. When you do the calculation, the answer will come out to be 20 meter per second. I'm taking another example. Let's say we want to convert 54 kilometer per hour into meter per second. How will do the computation? Calculation is simple. At the place of kilometer per hour, what we can bring? 5 by 18 meter per second. This can be taken as 1 kilometer per hour, and at the location of 1 kilometer per hour, we can do this replacement. 5 by 18 meter per second. Can we do this computation? 54, 18, you can cancel it with 3. So this is equal to 3 into 5 meter per second. So which is equal to 15 meter per second. Sometimes in the questions will be requiring these conversions. Okay, looking at the data of the questions, you'll get the idea. If answers are required in meter per second, then we can do such calculations. Okay, you may pause here and note down the things up to here, and then on the next screen we'll be taking up few more remaining points regarding the average velocity. Okay. Next important point, the average velocity depends only upon the displacement and the time interval. The details of journey in between is of no consequence. I'll explain the meaning. Suppose a particle starts here and the particle ends here. For this motion, if we want to talk about the average velocity, then we will require the displacement and the time interval. Now in between, the particle speeds up, slows down, takes rest, or turns, or this or that, whatever it does, that in between details are of no use. We require only these two parameters. Getting it? Another important point, if acceleration is constant, then the average velocity will always be equal to the initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2. In doing the numericals, this will be pretty useful. But keep in mind that this is applicable if and only if acceleration is constant. Next important point, whenever we use average velocity, we make it clear by using the word average. In the questions, it will be explicitly mentioned that solve for the average velocity, solve for the average speed. Getting it? Okay. Note down all these things. Then we'll be taking up few more important points on the next screen. Taking up the next important point, the direction of the average velocity is always along the direction of the displacement. Looking at the formula, you can easily see that thing. For example, suppose a particle is moving over some random path like this. This is the starting position of the particle and this is the ending position. Okay. And let's say particle goes from this point 0 to point 1. Then particle goes to point 2. Particle comes to point, let's say 3 here. Particle goes to point 4, 5. We can name many points. Suppose someone asks us what is the direction of average velocity when the particle goes from 0 to 1, then we need to check the direction of the displacement. From 0 to 1, the direction of displacement will be like this, from initial position to the final position. So this is indicating the direction of average velocity. Getting it? Suppose for the journey from 1 to 2, someone asks you where is the average velocity directed. Then for the journey from 1 to 2, the average velocity will be directed like this. Getting it? Suppose the particle is traveling from 2 to 3, and for this journey you want the direction of average velocity, then 2 to 3 you join them straight like this. This will give you the direction of the average velocity. Okay. Suppose from 0 to 6 you want the direction of the average velocity, particle goes from 0 to 6, then nothing you have to do. From position 0 you go towards the position 6, you check the direction of the displacement. So this is the direction of the average velocity. So it's pretty simple thing. The average velocity will always be directed along the displacement. Suppose particle is going from 5 to 6 and you want the direction of the average velocity, then you check the direction of the displacement from 5 to 6. That will give you the direction of average velocity. Okay. Note it down. Then we'll be taking up another important point. The slope of the secant of a position versus time graph gives the average velocity. We'll be taking up question over that, and then you'll understand it better once you can write it. And the last important point, the position average of the velocity is given as VdR from R initial to R final divided by, again, integration dr, R initial to R final. And if we require the time average of the velocity, it is given as V dt from t initial to t final divided by integration dt from t initial to t final. We'll be taking up questions on all these things and then it will become much clearer to you. Note it down. Let's take up the first question to understand the concepts very well. We have a position versus time graph for a particle moving along a straight line. At different instances of time, its position coordinates are mentioned. Okay. We need to find the average velocity for these given time intervals. If you wish, you may pause and you can give it a try. I'm solving the things here. For average velocity, we already know the formula, final position minus initial position divided by the time interval. So for 0 to 4 second, this time interval 0 to 4 second, the final position is at 3 meter. So I'm writing the final position 3 meter, and the initial position at t is equal to 0 is also at 3 meter only. Check it carefully. Divided by the time taken. The time taken is 4 second minus 0 second. Do you agree with this? Simplifying it, you'll get the average velocity as the 0. Okay. Why the average velocity is 0? I can explain it logically. At t is equal to 0 second, particle was at the location 3 meter away from the origin, and at t is equal to 4 second, again the particle is at the same location 3 meter away from the origin. It means the initial and final positions are same. If initial and final positions are same, the average velocity will be 0. If you write it in vector form, it will be a null vector. Okay. Next case, 0 to 7 second. For 0 to 7 second, this is the time interval. We are interested in that. So at 7 second, how much is the final position? Final position is 4 meter. What is the initial position? At 0 second, the initial position is 3 meter divided by the final time is 7 second. Initial time is 0 second. We can simplify this. Getting it? Okay. Going for the next part. Now, can you answer it directly? 4 to 7 second. How much is the average velocity? At 7 second, the final position is 4 meter minus. At 4 second, the position is 3 meter divided by final moment of time is 7 second. Initial moment of time here is 4 second. Getting it? So it comes out to be 1 by 3 meter per second. Is it okay for everyone? Simple calculations. Now going for the next interval of time, 7 second to 12 second. So from this moment of time up to this moment of time, we are interested. At 12 second, the final position is in negative, minus 2 meter. It means if you settle here the starting position, then this sign is positive, this is negative. Particle is 2 meter to the left of the starting position. Putting the data here, what does this negative sign indicates? That particle is moving in this direction. Getting it? While going through the important points, we had the talk that average velocity can be 0, can be positive, or can be negative. We have proved it using this example. Okay. Another important point was there that slope of secant for a position versus time graph gives the average velocity. That also we can check. If you check this interval of time, 0 to 4 second, 0 to 4 second, this interval of time, then secant will be directed like this. Do you get it? For the time interval 0 to 4, this will be the secant. Secant is a straight line which cuts the given curve at two different points like this, and the slope of secant here is how much? 0, and the average velocity here is also 0. Then we go for next interval of time, 0 to 7 second. This is 0 and this is the 7 second moment. So up to here, if we go and we check for the slope, at the moment 0, the position was here, and at the moment 7, the position was here. So check this secant, cutting the curve at two different points. The slope of this new secant is positive, and you can check here the velocity is positive. Next is 4 to 7 second. For 4 to 7 second, this is the initial position, this is the final position. So the slope of secant is like this. This is again positive. Clear? Velocity is positive. And then 7 to 12 seconds, if we check for the average velocity, at 7 second, this is the position. At 12 second, this is the position. So the secant will go something like this. And the slope of this secant is positive or negative or 0. Anyone can tell slope of this line is negative. You can check the data of average velocity, it's coming out to be negative. Okay. It's simple but interesting question. You may note it down. Then we'll be taking up the next one. Here is the next question. A particle moves over a circle like this. We need to find the average velocity of the particle when it goes from point 1 to 2. Then in second case when it goes from point 1 to 3, and in the last case when it goes from point 1 to 4. It is given that the particle is always moving with the constant speed u and the radius of the circle is r. Is it okay? I am starting the calculations. For movement from point 1 to 2, we will be using this formula for the average velocity. The final position vector at the location 2 is the final location, final position vector. Can you speak up? R j cap. What was the initial position vector? R I cap. Getting it? Divided by the time taken. For time taken, do we have any formula? Anything you remember? Time taken can be written as distance traveled divided by the speed. I hope you remember that formula. And particle is moving with the constant speed u. So going from 1 to 2, how much is the time taken? 1/4 of 2 pi r divided by u. Check it once. Distance from here to here is 1/4 of the circumference. So 1/4 of the circumference, and distance traveled divided by the speed was u. Clear? This should be your answer. Remaining calculation you can do. Since average velocity is a vector quantity, so your answer will carry the I cap, j cap, everything. Okay. Going for the motion from 1 to 3. Speak up the final position here. It is minus r I cap. The initial position is r I cap divided by the time taken. For time taken, we should do half into 2 pi r divided by u. I hope you understand this. Going from 1 to 3, the distance traveled is half of 2 pi r, and distance traveled divided by the speed u, you will get the correct answer. Okay, last point 1 to 4. Going from 1 to 4 like this, the final position is minus r j cap. The initial position is r I cap divided by the time taken is 3/4 into 2 pi r divided by u. Simple and nice question. You can note it down. Then we'll be taking up the third question. Here is the third question. A car is traveling in a straight line with an average velocity of 80 km per hour for the initial 2.5 hours, and then with an average velocity of 40 km per hour for 1.5 hour. For this entire journey, we need to find the displacement as well as the average velocity. It's a simple formula based question. You can compute it yourself also if you wish. I am doing the calculations here. First of all, we'll be going for the displacement. Looking at the data of the question, we can easily obtain the displacement by multiplying this plus this. See, 80 km per hour multiplied with 2.5 hour plus 40 km per hour multiplied with 1.5 r. Here r and r is getting cancelled out. Okay, 80 into 2.5 is 200 and 40 into 1.5 is 60. So this distance will come out to be 260 kilometer. Actually, it's a unidirectional motion. So the magnitude of displacement and the distance traveled, they are same. Getting it? Next is the average velocity. It is also simple. The average velocity is equal to displacement divided by the time interval. The displacement is already known to us, 260 kilometer, and the time interval is 2.5 hour plus 1.5 hour. So basically we have here 260 kilometer divided by 4 hour. This answer will come out to be 65 kilometer per hour. So you can note it down. Then we'll be taking up the next question. Here is the next question, and it's an important one. A particle is performing unidirectional motion with the speed v is equal to kt. Here k is some constant of appropriate dimensions and t is indicating the time. So as the time is increasing, the speed is continuously increasing. We need to obtain the position average as well as the time average of the velocity for the initial time interval t. Okay, it's an important question, good one. And one more thing, this position average sometimes is written as the space average. Okay, so I'm doing the calculations here. You may pay attention on the board. First of all, we'll be finding the position average of velocity. You remember the formula? Position average of the velocity was given as v dr, r initial to r final, divided by integration dr, r initial to r final. Is it okay? So we'll be putting up values in this. Before we indulge into the calculations, I'll obtain few important values here. This v is given as kt, and in the video of differentiation we have seen that v can be written as dr by dt, the rate of change of position with respect to time indicates the velocity. So the dr can be written as kt dt. Okay, in this calculation will require the dr, so we have obtained the values. Now I am putting up the values. The v is kt, the dr is kt dt, the limit of the time is from 0 to t, okay, divided by kt dt, limit of time is from 0 to t. Now it's simple thing, we can compute it here. This k and k, they are constant, so I am taking them outside, so it is k square. Then you will be left with the integration of t square. Integration of t square will result into what? T cube by 3. Put up the limits, you know how to simplify the integrations. And if you don't remember, check the video of the integration in the mathematical tools playlist. Okay, now solving this part, k is a constant, so taken outside of the integration, and then you integrate this part. Its answer will be t square by 2. When you simplify this thing, it will come out to be 2 by 3 kt. Is it okay? Check it yourself. Now I'm going for the calculation of the time average of the velocity. Pay attention here. Time average of the velocity is equal to integration v dt. Time is going from 0 to capital T because it's given in the question. Again 0 to capital T dt. This computation is simple. V is given as kt. The limit of time is from 0 to t, and this computation will result into t minus 0. K is a constant, so taken outside. Integration t dt, when you compute it, t square by 2 and divided by this t. So here it comes out to be kt by 2 finally. Done. Now this time average of the velocity is indicating something important if you pay attention to the data. I told you if the acceleration is constant, then the average velocity is equal to what? Initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2. In that manner also you will get the same answer. How? Pay attention here. We know that acceleration is equal to dv by dt. And what is dv by dt in this case? It is equal to k, and k was given as constant. Do you remember? Because when you differentiate this v with respect to time, then you will get only k, and in the question it is mentioned that k is constant. It means acceleration is constant, and if acceleration is constant, then we know the formula for the average velocity. Average velocity is equal to initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2. What is the initial velocity? At t is equal to 0, the initial velocity is 0. And since particle is performing unidirectional motion, we are not bothered about the vector sign. We will take plus minus. Okay. So initial velocity is 0. What is the final velocity at the moment of time t? Final velocity at the moment of time capital T will be equal to kt and divided by 2. Check these answers. Getting it? So you can do it via integration or you can do it with those important points. Choice is yours. It's a super question. You can note it down up to here. It's a brilliant one. You'll understand the gravity of this question at the last part of this question. So pause the video, note down the question carefully, try to understand the meaning of the question, and then pay your full attention to the solutions. I hope you are done with writing. I'm starting the solution. Since this is a unidirectional motion, so we are dropping the vector sign, the arrow, and will just use the positive sign. Particle is always moving along the positive x direction. Okay. In first part, we require the average velocity, which will be equal to x final minus x initial divided by t final minus t initial. The final coordinate can be obtained by putting the final moment of time, and final moment of time is 3. Unit I'll write later on. The initial moment of time is 2. Okay, and here is 3 and 2. The unit will be meter per second. When we compute it, it is 9 minus 4 divided by 1 meter per second, which is equal to 5 meter per second. This is the average velocity for the time interval 2 second to 3 second. Getting it? The position at 3 second was 3 square. The position at 2 second was 2 square. Okay, going for the second part. Again, the average velocity will be equal to x final minus x initial divided by t final minus t initial. Here the final moment of time is 2.1 second. So x final will be 2.1 whole square. X initial will be 2 whole square divided by 2.1 minus 2. And the unit will be meter per second. How much is the 2.1 whole square? We know that 4.41 minus 2 square is 4 divided by 0.1. Is it okay? The unit is meter per second. How much is the answer of this computation? It comes out to be 4.1 meter per second. Simple and easy thing. Going for the third part. X final minus x initial, t final minus t initial. Here, to obtain the x final, the value of time we should put as 2.01, and this will be 2.01 minus 2. Do you agree? How much is the 2.01 whole square? It will be 4.0401. Simple computation. Minus 4 divided by 0.01. The unit here is also meter per second. Let us compute it further. This time the average velocity comes out to be 4.01 meter per second. Okay. Fourth part. Have patience, you'll understand why we are doing these calculations. X final minus x initial. Can you tell me the answer directly for the fourth part? Now, few brilliant students can directly obtain this answer. This answer will be 4.001 meter per second. How? Let's pay attention. This is 2.001 whole square minus 2 square divided by 2.001 minus 2. The unit is meter per second. When we do this computation, its answer will be 4.004001 minus 4 divided by 0.001. Okay, unit is meter per second. And when you compute it, this will be the final answer. Now, suppose I become emotional and I keep on performing these calculations for the smaller and smaller time intervals. I am becoming a bit emotional, and let's say I obtain the V average like this, x final minus x initial by t final minus t initial, and this data here I am taking 2.0000 and becoming emotional. So many zeros, large number of zeros, and then 1 whole square minus 2 square divided by 2.00000, so many zeros, then 1 minus 2. The unit is meter per second. What will be the answer of that computation? Think about it. Looking at these data, you'll get the idea. This answer will be actually 4 point so many zeros, and then somewhere there will be 1. Can you treat this to be instantaneous velocity at t is equal to 2 seconds? Think about it. If you take the average velocity for the time interval t is equal to 2 seconds to t is equal to 2.0000, so many zeros and then 1. Actually, that interval is so small that average velocity will be considered as the instantaneous velocity. Here comes the foundation of the next video, the instantaneous velocity and the instantaneous speed. If the time interval is taken to be extremely small, infinitely small, then the average velocity will get converted to the instantaneous velocity, and the magnitude of the instantaneous velocity will become the instantaneous speed. Understand why we have taken this computation? Okay. One more interesting insight I have in this question, which I should discuss with you. This average velocity got converted into the instantaneous velocity at t is equal to 2 seconds. I can again obtain the instantaneous velocity using the differentiation. In the chapter of the differentiation, you remember this for the instantaneous velocity. Okay. So when we operate the differentiation, we'll get 2t and the unit is meter per second. Fine. Now, if I need the instantaneous speed at t is equal to 2 seconds, then I should put here 2. So the answer comes out to be 4 meter per second. This answer is matching with this one. There are so many zeros and then that one you can neglect. Okay. So the instantaneous velocity can be obtained in 2 ways. If you want to go with the average, you take the smallest possible interval of time. You'll get the instantaneous velocity, but this method is a bit lengthy. I hope you understand the thing. This is smarter. You will obtain the instantaneous velocity using the differentiation. Getting it? You can note it down up to here, and then you'll be getting a checkpoint. I request you to pause there and try all those questions yourself. Okay? Let's start the next topic, the average speed. The formula is pretty simple. Average speed is always equal to distance traveled divided by the time interval. In planning a trip, usually we are more concerned about the average speed. Although in daily life, the instantaneous speed and the average speed, they are totally different. For example, if you take a train from Bikaner to Bengaluru, the average speed of the train is around 48 kilometers per hour. Getting it? While as the instantaneous speed of that train may be 0 at some moment, maybe 100 kilometer per hour at some moment, maybe 80 kilometer per hour at some moment. So for the entire journey, if we can assume some constant speed, that constant speed is taken to be the average speed. Getting the idea? When we talk of the average speed, we might not understand the intermediate variations of the journey, where the object was speeding up, where it was slowing down, where it took the rest. All those informations, they get depleted when we talk of the average speed. You'll understand it better by taking some examples. Before that, let us write few important points. Number one, average speed is a scalar quantity because the distance traveled and the time interval both are the scalar quantities. Second thing, its SI unit is meter per second and its dimensional formula is mass to power 0, length to power 1 and time to power minus 1. The average speed is greater than or equal to the magnitude of the average velocity, and for unidirectional motion, the average speed is always equal to the magnitude of the average velocity. By the word unidirectional motion, we mean that particle is moving in a single direction. It is never turning back. Okay. Next important point. The average speed is always non-negative. By the word non-negative, we mean the average speed can be 0 or can be positive, but it can never be negative. Clear? You may note down all these things and then we'll be taking up numerous good examples to understand the depth of the topic. Okay. Now let's learn the concepts using the questions. So here we can see the first question. Ram and Shyam are moving over different paths. Ram is moving over a semicircle while as the Shyam is moving along the straight line. The radius of the semicircle is given as 10 meter. Ram completes the journey in 4 seconds and Shyam is taking 10 seconds. Okay. Then we need to find the average speed as well as the average velocity of the Ram and Shyam. Pretty simple question. If you wish, you may pause and you can give it a try. I am starting the solution here. First of all, I am writing the average speed of Ram. We know the formula for the average speed. It is distance traveled divided by the time interval. Okay. So, how much is the distance traveled by the Ram? It's pretty clear to you. Distance traveled by the Ram is the length of the semicircle. So, which is equal to pi into 10 meter. And how much is the time interval for Ram? 4 seconds. That's your answer. Similarly, if we want the average speed of Shyam, then how much is the distance traveled by the Shyam? It is 20 meter. And the time interval for the Shyam is given as 10 seconds. Is it okay for you? Next part is asking us the average velocity of Ram. We know the formula of the average velocity. Average velocity is equal to displacement divided by time interval. Average speed as well as the average velocity, they are defined for some time interval only. Okay. How much is the displacement of the Ram? It's pretty simple. The displacement of the Ram is 20 meter I cap and the time interval for the Ram is given as 4 seconds. Done. Then the average velocity of Shyam. For Shyam also the displacement is same, because for Ram and Shyam the initial and final positions are same, and in the video of displacement we had the talk, if initial and final positions are fixed then displacement is a unique parameter. Okay, for Ram and Shyam the displacement will have the same value, so it will be again 20 meter I cap, and the time interval for the Shyam is 10 seconds. This is our answer. You may note it down, then we'll be taking up the next question. Let's take up the next question. Suppose you start from your home at t is equal to 0 and you want to reach to some examination center which is 135 km away from your home. The traveling time available for you is 3 hours and 20 minutes and the average speed of your car is 45 km per hour. Then can you find the affordable lunch time for this journey? Simple and nice question. Give it a try. The distance traveled is also available in the question. It is 135 km. The time interval, let's say we write it as del t, and the average speed is given as 45 km per hour. Do you understand this thing? You can simplify the things here, then del t comes out to be 3 hours. Okay. So if you drive with this average speed 45 km per hour, then you will reach to your examination center in 3 hours only. But the available window of the time was 3 hours and 20 minutes. So how much is the affordable lunch time? Now it's easy answer. The affordable lunch time is actually 20 minutes. I hope you understand the situation. Let me ask you one question. The average speed here is given as 45 km per hour. Does it mean that continuously your car was moving with the same speed? The answer is no. Sometimes the speed of car was even 0. Sometimes it was higher than 45 km per hour. For some other interval of time it was lower than the 45 km per hour. Getting it? Okay. Note it down. Then we'll be taking up the third question. Let's take up the next question. A bird is flying along north with a speed of 20 meters per second for 15 seconds. Then it takes rest for 5 seconds. And after that, it flies along the south with a speed of 25 meters per second for 10 seconds. Understanding the question's data? Then we need to find the average speed of this bird. Calculation is pretty simple. If you wish, you may pause and you can give it a try. I'm starting the solution here. We know that the average speed is always equal to the distance traveled divided by the time interval. Okay, I urge you to write the things. More you write, better you will understand. Let us imagine this motion. Let's say the bird starts here. Okay, then it goes along north. This direction I am assuming as north. While going along north, its speed was 20 meters per second. And for how much time it was flying? 15 seconds. You remember that? Then it takes rest for 5 seconds. And then that bird flies along south. South means this direction, opposite of the north. This time the speed of the bird was 25 meters per second and it flies for 10 seconds. This is the data given in the question. Do you agree? We can easily find the distance traveled with the help of this data. How much is the distance traveled in this part of journey? It's pretty simple. You multiply these two things, 20 meter per second into 15 second. Okay. Then when it is at rest, it won't travel any distance. Then it will travel some distance in this direction, which is equal to 25 meter per second into 10 second. I hope you understand the distance traveled divided by the time interval, 15 second plus 5 second plus 10 second. So the total time interval is 30 seconds. I hope you understand that. Few students have a doubt here that this time we should count or not. Whether you are speeding up, you are slowing down, you are taking rest in between the journey, that all time is actually counted in the time interval. Take the practical example. Suppose you go from Bikaner to Delhi via a train and it is taking around 12 hours. In that 12-hour journey, is the train continuously in the motion? No. In that 12-hour journey, at many stations, the train was at rest, and that rest time also you count in your journey time. Getting it? So now we can compute it further. It's pretty simple for us now. 20 into 15 means 300 meter, and this is 250 meter divided by 30 second. Let us simplify it further. 550 meter divided by 30 seconds. This 0 and 0 will get cancelled out. Your final answer is 55 by 3 meter per second. I hope you understand it. Post if you have any doubt in the comment box. This part is important. During the journey, if the particle is at rest for some time, that time is also counted in the time interval. Okay, note it down. Then we'll be taking up the next question. Here is the next interesting problem. The title of this problem is train hopping bird. This bird is a bit crazy. I'll call it physics bird. See the statement of the question. There are two trains which are 75 kilometers apart on the parallel tracks. Each train is moving at a speed of 15 km per hour. There is a crazy physics bird which is moving back and forth between these two trains. It touches the engine of one train, goes to the other train, touches the engine of that one, and then returns back to this train, and it keeps on doing this thing till the two trains cross each other. No normal bird will do such thing. That's why I call it crazy physics bird. You have to find the distance traveled by this bird and the number of trips taken by this bird. It's an interesting question. So I urge you to pause the video here, think about it, and try to post your answer in comment box. I'm waiting for your answers. Actually, if you think about the number of trips taken by the bird, what should be your answer? Two trains are approaching, the bird touches the engine of this train and then goes to that train, then comes back and then keep on doing till the two trains cross each other. Actually, the number of trips will be very large. You can call it infinite. And if you find the distance traveled in each trip and you keep on summing them up, the problem will be pretty complex. It can be made very simple. See it. For bird, we know some data. How much is the average speed of the bird? It's given in the question. Okay, we'll be utilizing that. Distance traveled divided by time interval. Average speed of the bird is known to us. It is 20 km per hour. Distance traveled by the bird is our target. And now we need the time interval. That can easily be obtained by looking at the statement of the question. I'm making a diagram for simplification purpose. Let's say this is train 1 and this is train 2. This is moving at a speed of 15 kilometer per hour. This train is also moving at a speed of 15 kilometer per hour. Okay. The initial distance between them is 75 kilometer. Do you agree? And then there is this physics bird. This physics bird touches the engine of this train, then fly back and forth, and these two trains are continuously moving. In how much time the trains will cover this total distance 75 kilometer? That is pretty easy. These two trains are having the equal speed. So they will be meeting here exactly at the midpoint. Let's say this train travels for time t, then this will also travel for the same time t for the meeting or crossing. So the 75 kilometer can be written as 15 kilometer per hour into time t. And same thing you can do for this train, 15 kilometer per hour into time t. Do you agree? After time t, these two trains reach here at the middle. They cross each other. Okay. Let us compute this time. The unit kilometer is getting cancelled out. 75 r is equal to 30 t. So t comes out to be 75 by 30 r. Is it okay for you? We can write this as 5 by 2 r. Now we know the time interval. So I am putting the data here. The trains will cross each other in 5 by 2 r. We require the distance traveled. Now it's pretty easy. The distance traveled, anyone can answer it, is 20 kilometer per hour into 5 by 2 r. These units are getting cancelled out. Your final answer is 50 kilometer. It's an interesting answer. I hope you understand the concept. Trains are approaching each other. The bird is moving back and forth between the engine of two trains. So it will be taking infinite trips, and the total distance covered in those large number of trips will be 50 kilometer. This is the easiest possible solution of this problem. Although it can be solved in a lengthy way, but I recommend you to go through this method. Okay? Note it down, then we'll be taking up the next question. Taking up the next question, it's simple one. The length of the second hand of a clock is 0.1 meter. We need to find the average speed of the tip of the second hand when it moves from 12 to 3, as well as the magnitude of the average velocity. Okay, it's a simple question. If you wish, you may pause the video here and give it a try. I'm writing the solution here. First of all, we'll go for the average speed. We know the formula for the average speed. It is equal to distance traveled divided by the time interval. How much is the distance traveled by the tip of the second hand? Looking at this diagram, we can easily tell it should be 1/4 of 2 pi L. And how much is the time taken? Going from 12 to 3, it will take 15 seconds. Now we can submit the data. Pi into 0.1 meter divided by 30 seconds. Okay, you can do the remaining computation. Next part is the magnitude of the average velocity. Magnitude of the average velocity is actually equal to the magnitude of displacement and divided by the time interval. Okay, let us check the magnitude of displacement. This is the initial position of the tip, and finally the tip reaches here. For this journey, this will be the displacement I am marking here. And this length can easily be obtained. This length will be actually root 2L by Pythagoras theorem. So the magnitude of the displacement is now available, root 2L, and time taken we already know is 15 seconds. Now we can submit the data. Root 2 into 0.1 meter divided by 15 seconds. This is the answer. Okay, straightforward, simple question. Note it down, then we'll go further. Here is the next interesting question. A particle is moving with the constant speed, and after every 500 meter it turns by 60 degree. Then it again goes 500 meter, then turns by 60 degree. Then it will cover 500 meter, then turn by 60 degree, covering 500 meter again, and then turning by 60 degree. Okay. Particle is always moving with the constant speed. So in covering this 500 meter, if the particle is consuming time t, then in covering this 500 meter or this, every time it will take up the same amount of time. Is it okay? Question is asking us the ratio of the magnitude of the average velocity and the average speed. So it's a simple question actually. Whatever the question is telling, let me write that. For the solution part, the question is asking magnitude of the average velocity divided by the average speed. What is the meaning of the magnitude of the average velocity? It is actually the magnitude of the displacement divided by the time interval. And average speed means what? Distance traveled divided by the time interval. Okay. So simplifying this, we get the basic idea that question is actually asking us the magnitude of displacement divided by the distance traveled. Getting it? Basically, you have to obtain this thing. So now I am starting the solution. Let's say here is the first turn. We started the observation at this moment of time, and then particle took the first turn here. This is the second turn. Here is the third turn. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th, so on. First part of the solution is asking us this ratio for the third turn. So third turn starting from here, if we are starting the observation here, then third turn moment is this. Up to here, first we need the magnitude of the displacement. It can easily be obtained. Starting the observation here and then reaching to the third turn, the displacement vector we can easily tell will be directed like this. Getting it? And here will be the center of the hexagon somewhere. So this side and this side, they are actually equal. Getting it? So if this is 500 meter, this will also be 500 meter because these two sides are equal. So 500 meter, this is also 500 meter, and these two sides are also equal. So this is also 500 meter. What is the magnitude of the displacement? 1000 meter. Getting it? Now going for distance traveled. Distance traveled depends upon path. We start the observation here. It covers 500 meter, next 500 meter, next 500 meter. So distance traveled is 3 into 500 meter. Is it clear to you? You can simplify this thing. So the answer is 10 by 15 or 2 by 3. Is it okay? Now the next part, the second one, we need to compute the things at the 6th turn. So in the diagram, where is the 6th turn? Here only, the moment we start the observation. For the 6th turn, how much is the displacement? We start the observation here and particle reaches back here. The displacement is 0. So the magnitude of displacement will be 0 only. Okay. And how much is the distance traveled? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 500 meter we are traveling. So this is 6 into 500 meter. Although ultimate answer is 0 only. Done. Now going for the third part of the calculation. 8th turn. So where is the 8th turn? Here. For 8th turn, let me do some construction for the displacement vector. This will be the displacement vector. We start the observation here and 8th turn is here. Will require this length, this magnitude. How to obtain it? Actually, it's simple. What you do, from here you drop a perpendicular. If we drop a perpendicular here, it will be actually bisecting this red length. Do you agree? It's simple mathematics. Okay. How much is this angle? 60 degree. This is also 60 degree. Simple geometry. This triangle is having the angle 60 degree here. This angle is 90 degree and this angle is 30 degree. If you know all the angles of a triangle and you know the length of one side, can you find this length? It's pretty easy. I'm taking the component of 500 meter along this direction for this triangle. Pay attention. This triangle, 500 meter is the side opposite to the biggest angle, the 90 degree angle, and the component of 500 meter along this direction will be 500 meter cos 30 degree. The same thing will happen for this length also. This angle is 30 degree actually, and the 500 meter here will have this component again, 500 meter cos 30 degree. It means the magnitude of the displacement is 500 meter into root 3 by 2 plus 500 meter into root 3 by 2. Is it okay? Now divided by, we require the distance traveled. For 8th turn, how much is the distance traveled? 8 into 500 meter. This 500 meter is getting cancelled out. So you'll have the final answer. Let me write that here. Root 3 by 8. Is it okay? Simple but nice question. You may note it down. Then we'll be going for the next one. Here is the next question. We have 4 different situations. The initial position and the final position of particle is as shown here. In all these cases, we have to find the average speed. It's a simple one. If you wish, you may pause and you can give it a try. We know the formula for the average speed. It is equal to distance traveled divided by time taken. Understand? So how much is the distance traveled in the first case? From here to here in this interval, it will travel a distance of v1t. And then for remaining interval of time, it will travel a distance v2t. So this is the distance traveled and time interval is 2t. So the final answer is v1 plus v2 by 2. Is it okay for you? We have solved the first part here. Looking at this answer, you'll find an interesting insight that this answer is actually arithmetic mean. You can check yourself. v1 plus v2 by 2. For such a case, the answer is always arithmetic mean. Taking up the next case, the distance traveled in this part of journey is v1t. Distance traveled in this part of journey is v2t. Last part of journey, the distance traveled is v3t, divided by the total time interval is t plus t plus t. So the answer is v1 plus v2 plus v3 by 3. Again, an interesting insight. This answer is also an arithmetic mean. So for such situations where the time intervals are equal and we are given the speeds as shown here, we can take the arithmetic mean for the average speed. Okay. Next part, the distance traveled here is directly given as L divided by time taken. Time taken in this part of journey will be L by 2 divided by V1. Do you agree? Plus L by 2 divided by V2. This is the time taken in this part of journey. Okay. Here L is getting cancelled out. So you are left with what? 2 divided by 1 by V1 plus 1 by V2. Interesting insight. This answer is actually the harmonic mean of the given data. Okay. If you wish, you can simplify this answer further. Here is the shortest of the space, so I am leaving it. The distance traveled is L and the time taken in the first part of journey is L by 3 divided by V1. Then time taken in the second part of the journey is L by 3 divided by V2. And time taken in the third part of the journey is L by 3 divided by V3. Do you agree? So this will come out to be 3 divided by 1 by V1 plus 1 by V2 plus 1 by V3. This is also the harmonic mean. So for such situations, when particle is traveling equal distances, we can take up the average speed using the harmonic mean. If you wish, you can simplify it further. I am having the issue of the space on the board. I hope you understand these things. You may note them down. We'll be taking up few more questions then. You give it a try. This is the initial and final position of the particle. It's covering a total distance L. We need to find the average speed. Simple question. Post your answer quickly in the comment box. I'm solving the things on the board. The total distance traveled we can see is given as L and the time taken in the first part of the journey is 3L by 4 divided by V1 plus time taken in the remaining part of the journey is L by 4 divided by V2. This L is getting cancelled out. Is it okay for you? Simplifying the things further, that 4 goes up, V1 V2 divided by V1 plus 3V2. I hope you understand how to solve such things. Okay, this is the correct answer. Note it down. We'll be taking up the next question then. Let's take up the next question. It's a brilliant one. You may pause and you can give it a try and then you can match your solutions with the board. For solving such questions, we should always develop a diagram. Suppose this is the starting position of the particle and the particle ends up here. For this journey, the particle is covering a total distance L. According to the question, half of the distance means L by 2 is covered with the speed V0. Okay. And we assume that for this journey, it consumes the time T1. For remaining journey, the time taken is, let's say, T2. And according to the language, for T2 by 2 interval of the time, the speed of the particle is V1. and the remaining t2 by 2 interval of the time, the speed of the particle is v2. This is what our question is. Getting it? Okay. Now let us start the solution. As usual, the question is asking us about the average speed. We already know the formula for the average speed. Distance traveled divided by the time taken or the time interval. Distance traveled is already known to us. The total distance traveled here is L, divided by time taken is T1 plus T2. Is it okay for you? Now we should obtain these values of T1 and T2. T1 is clearly visible here. If you see this diagram, then T1 can be written as L by 2 divided by V0. Check it once. The time is equal to distance divided by the speed. Is it okay? Similarly, we can find this remaining L by 2 distance very easily in the terms of the given speeds and the time. This distance is actually L by 2. And pay attention what I am writing for this L by 2. Writing it here. This L by 2 is actually equal to V1 into T2 by 2 plus V2 into T2 by 2. Do you agree? You can check it yourself. V1 into T2 by 2 will give you this distance. V2 into T2 by 2 will give you this distance, and summation of these two distances is equal to that red L by 2 in which we are interested. Okay. Here we can cancel the 2 everywhere. We actually need the value of time T2. So that can be obtained from this computation. I am submitting the data now. L divided by T1. T1 is L by 2 divided by V0 plus the T2 is L by V1 plus V2. Do you agree? The L here will get cancelled out and we can simplify the remaining things. Okay. Note it down. We'll be taking up the next question then. Here is the next question and it's interesting one. There is a lot of learning in this question. So I request you to pause the video here and give it a try yourself. Here the particle is moving only along a straight line and its x coordinate is given by this expression. X is measured in meter and time is measured in second. Then we need to find the average velocity as well as the average speed for this time interval. Okay. Post your opinion in comment box. I am waiting for your answers. I am starting the solutions here. It's pretty easy question if you can visualize the motion. Suppose we take the moment t is equal to 0 second. How much is the x coordinate at t is equal to 0 second? The x coordinate is 0 meter. Is it okay? Fine. Then you take the moment of time t is equal to 1 second. How much is the x coordinate at t is equal to 1 second? Put up 1 second here. The x coordinate will come out to be minus 2 by 3 meter. Now I think you can visualize motion up to here. Particle started at this location. Particle goes like this. Okay. Now taking t is equal to 2 second. T is equal to 2 second. If we submit here, the x coordinate comes out to be 2 by 3 meter. Now you can visualize the further part of the motion. That particle turns here and then goes like this. Do you agree? Particle is moving along this straight line. Okay. Going for the answers, the first part is asking average velocity. The formula for average velocity we know, the final position vector minus initial position vector, t final minus t initial. The final position of this particle is 2 by 3 meter. The initial position of the particle is 0 meter. Particle started here. Divided by the final moment of time is 2 second. Initial moment of time is 0. Is it clear to you? On computing this, your answer comes out to be 1 by 3 meter per second. The average velocity is a vector, and here I am not putting any vector sign because earlier we had the talk that for unidirectional motion we can drop the arrows, the vector symbols, and we can use only plus and minus. Okay, so the plus is indicating that average velocity is directed in this direction, and that is logically also true. Why? Particle starts here, that we know, and particle is observed up to this moment of time. From this position to this position, how much is the displacement? We already know the displacement is 2 by 3 meter. Okay, and how much is the time consumed for that journey? Time consumed for that journey is 2 seconds. So 2 by 3 meter divided by 2 seconds, the answer will come out to be 1 by 3 meter per second. Okay. Next part of the calculation, the average speed. Average speed is distance traveled divided by the time taken. How much is the distance traveled by this particle? Starting here, this is the starting point of the particle. This is the turning point. Particle turns here and then goes like this. So from here to here, it travels a distance of 2 by 3 meter. Then from here to this position again travels another 2 by 3 meter. And then from this position to this position travels another 2 by 3 meter. Okay. Total time taken in this journey is 2 seconds. When we simplify this, it comes out to be 1 meter per second. Okay. Simple but nice question. Why here the magnitude of the average velocity and the average speed are different? Can you tell? Because the motion is not unidirectional. Particle has turned back. Initially it was moving in this direction, then it is moving in opposite direction. Okay. Only in unidirectional motion we can have the magnitude of the average velocity equal to the average speed. I hope you remember the important points. Okay, note it down. It's a nice question. Can you tell me the interval of time for which the magnitude of the average velocity and the average speed is same? Think about it. Post your opinion in comment box. The interval of time for which the magnitude of the average velocity is same as the average speed. Correct. The answer can be from t is equal to 0 second to t is equal to 1 second, because for this interval of time the motion is unidirectional. Okay. Let's move further. Here is the next question, and it's a good one. So I urge you to pause the video here, read the question very carefully and give it a try yourself. There is a good learning in this question, and later on you can match your answers with the board. I hope you have read it carefully. So I am starting the solutions. For such questions, always try to imagine the motion. Suppose this is the home. Okay, we indicate it by H, and somewhere here is the market. We indicate it by M. The distance between home and market is given as 2.5 kilometer. Going from home to market, the speed of the person is given as 5 kilometer per hour, and while returning back, that speed is 7.5 kilometer per hour. This is the data. First of all, we'll obtain all the required time intervals and then we'll proceed for the calculations. So I'm starting that solution here. The time taken to go from home to market will be how much? Half an hour, because covering 2.5 kilometer with the speed of 5 kilometer per hour will require only half an hour. Although if you wish, I can do the calculation. 2.5 kilometer divided by 5 kilometer per hour, so it is half an hour or 30 minutes. I hope you get this. Next, the time taken to go from market to home. This distance is again 2.5 kilometer and the speed is 7.5 kilometer per hour. So it is actually equal to 1 by 3 hour, or in turn we can write this as the 20 minute. The total time of the journey going from home to market to home again is the summation of these two time intervals. So 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 are, okay, which is equal to 5 by 6 hour, or we can write it as 50 minutes. I hope you understand all these time intervals. Now we are proceeding for the solutions. The first part is asking us the average speed for the time interval 0 to 30 minutes. In 30-minute time interval, the person reaches from home to market with a constant speed, and if the speed is constant, the average speed will also be the same value. I can prove it. Formula of average speed we know, distance traveled divided by time taken. Distance traveled in the initial 30 minutes is 2.5 kilometer and time taken is half an hour. When you compute it, it comes out to be 5 kilometer per hour, and it should be. If the speed is constant, then average speed will also be the same value for any interval of time. Okay, in next part, we require the average velocity. The average velocity is a vector, so we'll require the magnitude as well as direction. But here is one interesting insight. Since it's a unidirectional motion from home to market, it means the magnitude of the average speed and the magnitude of average velocity will be same. So I'm writing it direct, 5 kilometer per hour. Now we need the direction from home to market. I hope you understand this thing. Okay, taking up the second part. In second part, we need the answers for the time interval 0 to 50 minutes. 0 to 50 minutes means the particle will start from home and reach back to home. So the distance traveled will be actually 5 kilometers. Understand that thing? And how much is the time taken? The total time taken is 5 by 6 hour. So this 5 and 5 will get cancelled out. We'll get the data as 6 kilometer per hour. How much will be the average velocity? Pretty simple answer, and it's one of your favorite digit. Correct. The answer will be 0. In vector form, the average velocity is null vector. Why? In 50-minute time interval, particle reaches back at the initial position. If initial position and final position are same, then displacement is 0 as well as the average velocity is also 0. Going for the last third part, the average speed. Now the question becomes interesting. For 40 minutes, we need to compute this. So initial 30 minutes, I know that it will travel 2.5 kilometer, and in next 10 minutes, how much it will travel? It will travel 7.5 kilometer per hour multiplied with 1 by 6 hour. This is the 10-minute time interval and this is the speed. And here is the total distance traveled in the 40 minutes. Do you get it? Divided by the total time. Total time is half an hour plus 1 by 6 hour. That is the shortest of the space. So the calculation part I am leaving to you. You can do all the computation here and you'll get your answer. Okay, I'll write the final answer. It should be equal to 5.625 kilometer per hour after doing the calculation. Now we'll go for the average velocity. Average velocity is a vector quantity. Here will require the displacement. So initially particle will be going by a distance of 2.5 kilometer and then it will travel back in these 10 minutes. So the required displacement will be this. Okay, this is the required displacement for the last part. How to obtain it? The magnitude can be obtained very simply from 2.5 kilometer. If you subtract this much distance, you will get the magnitude of displacement. Understand this thing? From 2.5 kilometer distance, if we subtract this much distance traveled in 10 minutes, we'll get the magnitude of the displacement. So I'm writing the data. 2.5 kilometer minus 7.5 kilometer per hour into 1 by 6 hour. Okay, divided by the time interval. Time interval is 1 by 2 hour plus 1 by 6 hour. And since it's a vector, we need to assign the direction. Direction of the average velocity is always along the displacement. And looking at this diagram, we can tell the direction of displacement or the average velocity is from home to market. Getting it? Again, there is shortage of the space. So I'll write the answer directly. You may perform all these calculations. It will come out to be 1.875 kilometer per hour from home to market. Okay, it's a brilliant question. You may pause and you may do the calculations. You can check all the data and then we'll be taking up the next one. Here are 3 equal length tracks. Equal length means this length and this length is actually same. And we have 3 identical balls A, B, C which are released at t is equal to 0. First, we would like to determine that which ball will take least time to reach at the end of the track. What is your opinion? Which ball will be reaching here in the least possible time among these 3 balls? The answer is pretty simple. The time taken by the ball C will be least, and then TB and then TA. What's the logic behind that? The logic is pretty simple. If we look at the ball C and we try to compare the motion, let's say up to this part almost, they have almost same kind of motion, but after this part, the C is having more speed as compared to the ball A and B. Do you agree? Here, here, here. So for this distance, the C is moving faster as compared to the ball A and B. So it will take less time. And whatever speed it has gained due to this fall, that same amount of speed it will lose due to this rise, and then the ball C will reach here. But since it was moving faster here, so it will reach here in the least time. Then if you compare the track 1 and track 2, these two tracks only, up to here the almost motion of ball A and B is same. But after this point, the speed of ball B is greater as compared to the speed of ball A. So obviously TB will be less than TA. Understand the logic? Now we can write the order of the average speed. Can you speak up? Which ball will have the greatest average speed? Which will have the least average speed? Answer is simple. The length of all these tracks are equal, and the average speed is equal to distance traveled divided by time taken. They all are traveling same distances, and that time interval we already know. So if we write the order of the average speed, the A will have the least average speed, then ball B, and then ball C. The greatest average speed will be with ball C because it is traveling the given distance in the least interval of time. I hope you understand this. And then we can answer one more question. Let's say when the balls reach at their ends here, this speed we write as VA, this we write as VB, this we write as VC. Can you compare their order? More, less, equal? Think about it. Again, an interesting part of the question. The answer is pretty brilliant. So I am giving you the time to think about it. Okay. Actually, the VA will be equal to VC and the VB will be greatest. Think about it. It's intuitive, it's logical also. Why VA is equal to VB? If we look at the track 1 and track 3, in this part of track, the ball gains some kinetic energy, it speeds up, but it loses the same amount of kinetic energy here. It slows down by the same amount. What it gained, it lost here. So this part is actually nullified. Then the horizontal level of the track A and track C, the track 1 and track 3 are same. Getting it? So the speeds at the end of these tracks will be same. If you want to go by the logic of the energy, the loss in gravitational potential energy becomes here, but here the ball gains the same amount of the gravitational potential energy, so this is getting nullified. So from energy perspective, the track 3 and the track 1, they'll return you the same speeds at the end of the track VA and VC. Okay, now what about VB? If we compare all three tracks, then ball B here at this end is at the lowest position because it has lost some gravitational potential energy, means it has gained some kinetic energy here, and with that increased kinetic energy it is reaching to this position. So the speed VB is actually greater. I hope you all people got the correct answers. It was an interesting question, and after this you'll get the checkpoint number 2. For better conceptual understanding, I request you to pause there and try all those questions yourself. Take care and stay awesome. If you have any doubt, fire up the chat box. I'll reply.